Good morning. Welcome to the NYNJPA weather forecast for November 6th, 2012. We are back in action after being down a few days with no power and no heat and no internet or very limited internet. Thankfully, we are back in action in central New Jersey. Thank you for JCP&L for getting our power back on. Let's talk about our next storm. That's right, another storm is on the way, but first let's take a look at our observations throughout the northern mid-Atlantic. We have temperatures in the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area rather chilly. Temperatures in the interior range from the mid to upper 20s. Along the coast, basically in the lower to mid 30s. Notice the dew points are in the upper teens to mid 20s. That's some very dry, cold air that has settled over the northern mid-Atlantic. Now, if this was December or January, about 30 days away from now, I would say we're setting up for what could be a pretty significant snowfall for the northern mid-Atlantic. But it's November. And it's important to recognize that because the ocean waters are still rather warm. And I'm going to show you why that's important in just a moment. Here we have the latest observations as far as the pressure. You can see high pressure is sitting overhead, light and variable winds, clear skies. It's beautiful outside, though chilly. But if we zoom out a little bit towards the rest of the country, you can see we have a storm starting to develop over the southeast coast. We have a low pressure system developing off the Georgia and South Carolina coast, and another disturbance around Georgia and Alabama. And we have a cold front with a strong low pressure system over portions of the upper Midwest. Now, when we take a look at the radar, you can see we have some rainfall definitely developing over the southeast, starting to lift towards the northeast and east northeast. And we also have a cold front with plenty of rainfall moving through the upper Midwest and the western Great Lakes. Now, I would be remiss if I just didn't remind everyone just for a moment, get out and vote. No matter who you're voting for, it's important to vote. It's your national duty, and it's what makes us Americans. So make sure you get out to vote, regardless of the rain here and here. Perfect conditions over here. I know the destruction along the Jersey Shore. I believe they have areas set up for you to vote, so get out there and let your voice be heard. Now let's take a look at the water vapor. This is really important. This is the upper level disturbance that will become our coastal storm. But notice the winds are west to east. These are the upper level winds. Why is this important? If it wasn't for this disturbance trying to catch this disturbance, our low pressure system here would just continue to exit out into the Atlantic and not bother anyone. But because this disturbance catches this disturbance, the storm ends up curling more towards the east-northeast. Now, in previous model guidance, we had a storm closer to the coast in the model guidance because this was a little bit faster and this was a little bit slower. But the latest data coming in shows that this is moving a little bit faster than what was expected. So the storm track is shifted a little bit further east. I think that the GFS is a little bit too aggressive in this. The 060 GFS moved back a little bit further to the west, more towards the European model guidance. And that's the model guidance I've been pretty much sticking with for the most part. Now, a word of caution. If this picks up a little bit more speed this afternoon and evening, then this storm tracks further to the coast. And locations like northeastern Pennsylvania and, let's say, the central Hudson River Valley and northwestern Connecticut will have a much more significant impact as far as snow. Convincingly, also, at the same time, locations right along the Jersey Shore will also experience heavy rain and stronger winds. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this storm as it evolves. But clearly right now we're looking at a little bit further east track, and that means the influences are not going to be as bad. Taking a look at the latest infrared satellite picture, you see high pressures in control. Clouds will increase throughout the day, and I'm expecting the storm to impact the region tomorrow evening on through Thursday morning. It's going to be a fast-moving low, but the track is going to be very important to keep an eye on over the next several hours. Taking a look at the model guidance. Here we are for this evening. Again, here's our disturbance along the coast. Here's our other disturbance trying to catch this disturbance and pull it closer to the coast. Now keep an eye on this line right here. You see this line right here? This is a 540 thickness line. Why is this important? Because everybody has been running around saying, oh look, snow along the coast because temperatures are below freezing at 850 millibars. Again, if this was December or January, you would be absolutely, completely, and totally correct. However, it's November. And I know everyone's trying to pull up the freak storm from last October, but this is not the same type of situation here that we're dealing with. For one, the cold air aloft is not nearly as cold as what we saw with that storm. And so, therefore, you're not bringing down that type of intense cold air to the surface. Also, at the same time, you're dealing with a much warmer Atlantic Ocean, and that is key. When we look at tomorrow evening, here's our storm. It's rapidly developing a little bit further east than what was shown in other model guidance, but notice our 540 line here. It's jutted back to the west, basically to the west of Philadelphia, the west over northeastern Pennsylvania, back towards Syracuse, and off towards New England. Why does this happen? The reason why is because you have east and northeasterly winds coming into the coast. Now again, if this was December and the water temperatures were cooler, this impact will not be as significant. But because of that impact, these temperatures certainly are cold enough for snow, but from about 900 millibars, or from the lower to mid portions of the atmosphere on down to the surface, you're dealing with temperatures in the mid to upper 30s along the coast, and upper 20s, maybe lower 30s to mid 30s over the interior. Cold enough for snow over the interior. For the coast, you could see a little bit of mix of snow with the rain, but you're primarily dealing with a rainstorm here. So I just want to make that absolutely clear. Yes, you could see some snow at the end or even in the middle of this storm, but no accumulation whatsoever, because the boundary layer temperatures where you and I live are going to be a little bit too warm for that. It's interesting though that this storm is developing as it is already in November. Moving forward, our storm exits out. I think by noon Thursday we see clearing skies, improving conditions. It will be windy. I'll go over the storm impacts in just a moment and what to expect. Thereafter, from Friday all the way on through early next week, we have high pressure and control with very warm conditions, temperatures in the 60s, very comfortable weather conditions, kind of a little bit of almost of a Indian summer. Not as warm, not temperatures in the 70s or 80s or anything in that respect, but compared to what we've been dealing with, temperatures in the 50s and 60s sure will feel comfortable, especially heading into this weekend and early next week. Unfortunately, that won't last long with an Arctic cold front on the way, bringing in much colder temperatures for the middle and latter part of next week. So let's look at the forecasted impacts of our storm. If you are right along the coast, this is what we can generally expect. Rain heavy at times. I'm looking at a start time around Wednesday, 4 p.m., continuing on through Thursday morning, let's say about 10, 11 a.m. Look for rainfall amounts around 1 inch, locally up to 2 inches in heavy downpours. This is important. The winds will be sustained at 15 to 30 miles per hour. Gusts could be up to 50 miles per hour. I think the strongest winds are going to be out over the Atlantic because of its further east track. If the track is a little bit closer to the coast, look for those winds to increase, gusting potentially over 65 miles per hour. But right now, we're going with a little bit further east track. As far as coastal flooding, minor to moderate. Again, this storm's going to be moving pretty fast, in and out within 6 to 8 hours. And it's going to be moving at a speed in which the high tide, the most important high tide, is going to be early Thursday morning. Look for anywhere from 1 to 3 feet above your normal high tide levels, so look for minor to moderate coastal flooding. Unfortunately, with the damage along the New Jersey and New York coast, unfortunately, any type of coastal flooding is going to be an issue. It's going to be a problem. So please be prepared and evacuate those locations because you're dealing with, unfortunately, a compromised coastline. As far as any type of snow, could be some mixing in at the very end, potentially a little bit of snow on a car top or two, or maybe on your grass, but nothing of significant nature. A little bit further to the north and west of your major cities and over much of Connecticut and to the north and west of Philadelphia, look for, again, mostly rain, mixing with snow at times. Snowfall accumulations of a trace up to 1 inch, mostly on cold surfaces. Look for rainfall amounts of a half an inch to 1 inch. Winds again sustained at 15 to 30 miles per hour and gusts up to 50. A little bit further north and west, more towards portions of Reading, Harrisburg, Allentown, Bethlehem. We're looking at a mix of rain and snow changing over to snow. Accumulations of 1 to 3 inches. Again, you're going to be on the edge of this precipitation shield. If this storm is further to the west, you're going to look for your snowfall amounts over 4 inches easily because you're going to be getting heavier and steadier precipitation. But right now that does not look like the case. So again, look for about 1 to 3 inches of snow, mostly on cold surfaces. Winds sustained at 10 to 20 miles per hour with gusts up to 40 miles per hour. Be on guard for the potential of power outages because that snow is going to be wet. It's going to be a little bit heavy, and with power lines a little bit compromised and windy conditions, you know that's a bad combination. As you head towards Scranton, further north and west, basically we're looking at scattered snow showers. You're going to be on the very edge of this storm. You might not see anything at all. If you do see some snow showers, you'll see a trace to 2 inches, mostly on cold surfaces. Could be a little bit slick on the roadways. Winds anywhere from about 10 to 20 miles per hour, but the gusts won't be that impressive, around 35 miles per hour, if that. You're going to be the furthest away from the storm, and your impacts will be limited. So that's your forecast for today. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. I'll be following this storm through the day. If it happens to track a little bit further west, I'll have the updates and details on what I think is going to happen. Have a wonderful day. Of course, you can follow the latest weather information at nynjpaweather.com and nynjpaweather on Twitter and Facebook. NYNJPA Weather is a partner with Storm Surge LLC. Have a wonderful day. Get out and vote and stay safe out there.